Good afternoon everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, I'm Deb from Project Life Deb's Way, and I do the 12 by 12 photograph albums in the D-ring folders, but I use the Project Life plastic sleeve system because I find I can add a lot more photographs. So to give you a sneak peek of this month's layout, I'll show you the first side. So here is the first layout, and as you can see, I use the different pocket to do all my layout with, not just the 12 by 12 one-page pockets. So there we have what the layout will be. Now I use the papers from Stamperia Golden Harmony, and I used the new 8 by 8 single-sided papers. So you get the 22 sheets, but they all have no backs. They only have the front. So you get one each of all of the papers, so you can use every skerrick of the pad. And as a price point, it isn't double the price of the 8 by 8 double-sided. So it's only $5 or $6 dearer than the other pads. So economically, it works out really economic. I also have given myself a challenge. I will be, in 2 months' time, using all the leftover paper that I had left over from this collection, and I'll be making a travel layout. So it will be completely different, and it won't have florals and things. I'll be using tickets and other things to make it completely different, just to show that whatever pad you have, you can change it to your personal preference. So please don't forget to subscribe and like my channel, because then you'll get notifications when you get the next video that I have done. And also too, I've left a link down below of my private Facebook group. It's a closed group, but once you join that, I actually do a cutting file of all the papers I've used with this layout, and I've also included 2 printouts to complement this layout, because I found there wasn't enough poppy papers to actually make my layout work. So I actually made some digital papers up and put some more white flowers and leaves with that collection. So there is a printout for those. So if you do want to follow along more fully and actually buy the pad and actually make this layout, I can actually take you through all the cutting of the papers as well. So following on from this, I'll show you a quick view of the layout in more depth, and then I will show you what papers I used, and then we'll go on with the fun of making our cards. So let's get on with the fun. So here's a quick sneak at the layout that you will be doing in this tutorial. So let's get on with making the cards. Here's a snapshot of what I used in this layout, and I used 2 12 by 12 white cardstock, 1 12 by 12 craft cardstock. I also used the 8 by 8 single-sided 22-page Stamperia Golden Harmony paper pad, which I've got about half left of that pad. I also found that I didn't have enough backing papers, so I run off some A4 handmade of a script. If you haven't got the script, you could use a book page, but I did have sort of a spludgy olive green A4, which I nearly used. This is all I've got left of an A4. This one here, I had half an A4 of the script. These are the flowers that I have actually used extra on top of what was in the cutouts in the paper pad. And I've put a link below once again where you can find these printouts for these. So we'll get on with making our cards now. So let's get busy. Okay, card number 1. So my ephemera from this has been taken from this one here, Inspire, and what I have done, I've cut the whole thing out, and just above the Aspire I have cut a slash into that. Now I've left a tiny border all the way around. So my next one was from the sheets here, and I cut this ticket here. Now if you noticed, I've got a line down here because this is for your travel layout. I'm only using any of the tickets on this side, so you can actually chop right down the middle and put that to one side with the papers that you haven't used. Now the other one, I have cut the small flower out from the bottom and this flower here in the middle, the orange one. Those two flowers there. And from a sheet, because there wasn't enough leaves. Now for my Facebook group, there is the PDF for this, where I've got all the leaves and also all the flowers and things for you to use. So I used one of these small leaf clusters. So that's your cutter parts for this particular card. Now I've got a 6x4 which I cut from the damask paper. I have got a 3x4 white photo mat which is going to go into the middle of that card like so. So I'm going to just get my tape and just pop that onto your card. Now I've also, leaving that same amount of border all the way around, you can also see I have actually edged my card in just a brown ink with my favourite dauber, and I've actually really quite heavily darkened that area before I've done my cards. I also have distressed my flower, my ink, and also my little stamp postage card. Now what I want to do here, I want this to fit in like that, and then this one goes on the top, up to the top. As you can see, this was a wee little bit too long, so I want it to fit. Now I'm thinking that it is fairly close to this card, so I might just take this off while I still can and pop that just slightly across, about 1/4 inch gap there, which will give me a little bit more room to move my things. Now I'm going to glue this down, so I'll put the one with the Aspire on first, and of course, as normal, when you go to film, your glue never works. So we're just going to glue this down on the bottom. As you can see, if you didn't leave that little white line around, you wouldn't see your tag there. Then pop that one on top with the same amount of border at the top. And you can see what I mean by having, it was a little bit too big. Now to hide this, I have popped my little ticket, which I'm going to slant slightly, on over that joint, and nobody would be any the wiser that there was a joint. Now then we lay our leaves. I'll pop a flower here and the white flower on top, and you can still see the little flowers underneath. Now I'm going to raise these slightly, so the leaf is going to be flat, but what I tend to like to do is just get a pokey tool or a tiny little stick and just scrunch those leaves up a little bit, so that when you lay them down they're a little bit layered. And then I'm going to put some glue on the center and pop that center down. Now under those leaves I just want that raised just a tiny little bit, so I'm going to get some waste paper here and cut myself a little V, put glue on both sides and just pop that underneath those leaves, and that will raise them up that tiny little bit, whereas they're flat here. Now this one here goes here, and once again I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm just going to cut myself a bit of paper hidden underneath and glue that on. It just gives the flower that little bit of support and raises it up that fraction. If you've got any bits showing, just snip it off. Once again I'm going to roll the edges, those leaves that little bit, and glue him down, and that just gives you a little bit of a distinction. Now the other one I'm actually going to put foam tape on. Get my cheap scissors that are cut for foam out, so I don't ruin my really good cutting scissors, and pop the piece of foam that you haven't used on the top. This one goes underneath the white flower. It gets popped on the top like so, and there we have card number 1 complete. Okay, card number 1. So my ephemera from this has been taken from this one here, Inspire, and what I have done, I've cut the whole thing out, and just above the Aspire I have cut a slash into that. Now I've left a tiny border all the way around. So my next one was from the sheets here, and I cut this ticket here. Now if you noticed, I've got a line down here because this is for your travel layout. I'm only using any of the tickets on this side, so you can actually chop right down the middle and put that to one side with the papers that you haven't used. Now the other one, I have cut the small flower out from the bottom and this flower here in the middle, the orange one. Those two flowers there. And from a sheet, because there wasn't enough leaves. Now for my Facebook group, there is the PDF for this, where I've got all the leaves and also all the flowers and things for you to use. So I used one of these small leaf clusters. So that's your cutter parts for this particular card. Now I've got a 6x4 which I cut from the damask paper. I have got a 3x4 white photo mat, which is going to go into the middle of that card like so. So I'm going to just get my tape and just pop that onto your card. Now I've also, leaving that same amount of border all the way around, you can also see I have actually edged my card in just a brown ink with my favourite dauber, and I've actually really quite heavily darkened that area before I've done my cards. I also have distressed my flower, my ink, and also my little stamp postage card. Now what I want to do here, I want this to fit in like that, and then this one goes on the top, up to the top. As you can see, this was a little bit too long, so I want it to fit. Now I'm thinking that it is fairly close to this card, so I might just take this off while I still can and pop that just slightly across, about 1/4 inch gap there, which will give me a little bit more room to move my things. Now I'm going to glue this down, so I'll put the one with the Aspire on first, and of course, as normal, when you go to film, your glue never works. So we're just going to glue this down on the bottom. As you can see, if you didn't leave that little white line around, you wouldn't see your tag there. Then pop that one on top with the same amount of border at the top. And you can see what I mean by having, it was a little bit too big. Now to hide this, I have popped my little ticket, which I'm going to slant slightly. On over that joint, and nobody would be any the wiser that there was a joint. Now then we lay our leaves. I'll pop a flower here and the white flower on top, and you can still see the little flowers underneath. Now I'm going to raise these slightly, so the leaf is going to be flat. But what I tend to like to do is just get a pokey tool or a tiny little stick and just scrunch those leaves up a little bit, so that when you lay them down, they're a little bit layered. And then I'm going to put some glue on the center and pop that center down. Now under those leaves, I just want that raised just a tiny little bit. So I'm going to get some waste paper here and cut myself a little V. Put glue on both sides and just pop that underneath those leaves, and that will raise them up that tiny little bit, whereas they're flat here. Now this one here goes here, and once again I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm just going to cut myself a bit of paper hidden one underneath and glue that on. It just gives the flower that little bit of support and raises it up that fraction. If you've got any bits showing, just snip it off. Okay. And once again, I'm going to roll the edges, those leaves that little bit. And glue him down. And that just gives you a little bit of a distinction. Now the other one, I'm actually going to put foam tape on. And I'll get my cheap scissors that are cut for foam out so I don't ruin my really good cutting scissors, and pop the piece of foam that you haven't used on the top. This one goes underneath the white flower. It gets popped on the top like so, and there we have card number 1 complete. Card number 2 is what I class as our eye candy card. So I have got my 6x4 white card. I have got 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, which I have cut from the sheet down the bottom there. I've also cut a small cluster, which is here from there. I took my boot from the big boot there, and I'll cut some of the tags from the tag sheet there. And I've also used this piece here and Follow Your Dreams. I cut from the sheet that is on the PDF, a little tiny piece here of, doesn't really matter how big you need it, 3 by about 1 1/4. Now I've torn 2 little pieces in here just to add some dimension to the card. I've distressed all the edges, and I've also done all my tags, my flowers. The only thing I haven't distressed is this one and this Follow Your Dreams. So I'm going to take my tape off here. That's going on in the center of that card, like so. All nicely stuck down. Because this is your eye candy card, I end up building up some layers. So I'm going to pop this one here. This one goes underneath. We have our little ticket here. We have our top one that's looking like a tag up here to hide this leaf, which I'm going to pop my little stamp on, like so. Now my boots, I'm going to pop down here, right in the middle of that cluster, and then Follow Your Dreams is going to go here. And then to stop that there, I'm going to pop my floral like so. So now we're just going to attach everything. The only thing that is mounted is Follow Your Dreams. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop everything onto the card. I said place that one from the top right to the top. and it covers that leaf up. Now I think I will just glue this one and just slant it a bit. Adds a bit of character. So now we need to pop our next tag underneath. I'm going to slant that as well. Then I'll put the next ticket on top of that, just building those layers up, and put my ticket straight. Now my boots go on, and I'm putting these all flat. Now before I put that right down, I'm going to put Follow My Dreams on there to make sure that that fits. Yep, that's perfect. So then pop that one down. Now I've got my mounting tape on this. So then I'm going to pop that onto my card, raised, and then the lovely little flower to hide, sort of take the starkness, because it does look like is just being plonked there. So we'll pop this one on. Work out how I want it to look. I think we're going to slide it that way and slide that one under a bit and cover up that piece there. So there is our eye candy card there. Now the thing is, you can actually put your title here with the date as well here, to explain what your layout is about if you want. Card number 3 is quite a simple one. I have got in the craft a 6x4. The next card I cut from the papers, and it's a 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, and I've distressed all around the edges quite heavily again. So I'm going to pop that down onto my base card centered. Now I've got a lovely photo mat, which is 4 1/8 by 3 1/8. And that is going to go onto the right hand side with an even border all the way around like that. Now my ephemera flowers have come from that sheet of flowers, and I've mounted the white one. This comes from one of the tags. You have a sheet like this, and it comes from the tag sheet, which I will see if I can quickly find for you. Here we go. It's the plain tag sheet, and I've used a couple of these. It's that one from there. And I've left a white edge around. Now that is going to go just underneath on an angle with your white photo mat. So I'm just going to glue that down. And pop that down like that. Now this big flower came from one of the frame pictures, which is this one here. just that one inside that frame. And what I did, I cut inside so I'd still have the frame to use for some cards later on. So what I'm going to do is this is going to lay here completely flat. I'm going to lift that up a little bit so I can get my photograph in there. Then I'm going to put the leaf up here next. I'm going to just curl those a bit. Pop that there. The white raised flower goes on next. Then I'm going to pop this little white one, just tuck it underneath, but when you put your glue on, only put the glue on the little bit that is actually off of the photograph. And there we have card 3, very quickly finished. Now on to card number 4. With this one, I have got my 3x4 photo mat, and then I cut a 4 4/4 and a 3 3/4, 3 1/4 photo mat, and I've attached them both centered. Now I've got a small little postage stamp I've got from the pack. I also got one of the frames with family and friends. Now I cut a piece of that card that we used for our base card in the previous card. Now I want to stick this in the center because I don't want that saying there. So what I'm going to do, I just want the frame. I'm going to put that piece of paper to cover that up like so. And then I've also got the lovely postage stamp. Now I've distressed my flowers. Now these flowers came from the cut apart sheet that I made, including the leaves as well. So they all belong, and these come up the top. So now what I'm going to do with this, the card I want right down in the bottom corner with just an 1/8 of an inch border around. So we'll pop that straight on like so. And I have been very naughty. I did not do my edging. Like that. Okay, so that's your top of your card. Now we are going to apply this up the top, slanted, with the postage stamp. This flower is going to be tucked underneath. We'll work out how we like it to look, with a little leaf tucked in. Then with these, I'm going to layer them like this, with one of the white flowers like that. So now I'm going to attach these with some glue. So I've gone in between the white and the craft mat, I won't put my stamp on until I get my flower arrangement. So I'm going to put my leaf down the bottom first, because then I will build up from there. Then I will put my leaves on. I think I might raise these, put a little bit of foam tape on these. Now I'm using the 1mm foam tape because it doesn't raise everything up too much. Now I'm going to pop those there, and I'm going to pop the lovely little white flower underneath. You can pop that further down. And then this little bud, going to poke underneath those flowers. As soon as I've done that, I can then pop my stamp on and then go to this flower at the top. And pop some glue in my flower. And there we have card 4 complete. So that's all our 6x4s done. Now these are our 2 photo cards with the smaller cards, and this is 5A and 5C. I have got the 3x4 in the craft, and then this is three and 7/8. So you just have a 1/16 of an inch around the border on both cards, and that is those 2 cards ready to go into your album. We're onto our eye candy cards, 5C and also, sorry, 5D. So let's get the right cards for the right bits. There we go. That's better. That's 5D and 5B. Now 5B first, I have cut a 3x4 from the green paper that I actually had in my stash, and I've popped it into my PFD. So you just need to go into your stash and get yourself some sort of this green, which is in the same tonings that the leaves are, if you're looking for that type of green. So I've got a 3x4 with that as my base card and edged it. Now this frame I have backed on the craft, but what I did, I cut the frame out, which is this frame here, and then I cut a 1/16 of an inch border all the way around, and then I took the floral from here. So I've fussy cut that out, and then I've just gone into one of the sheets and got the little thing with family, or if you don't want family, you can choose something else. So that's all this card is. So what we are going to do is pop this on in the center of that card, and my tape does not want to come off. Right. So that's sort of, try and center that as much as you can. There we go. Just like that. And then this is going on the bottom. and I've distressed around the edges of the flowers. Now if you wanted, you could actually put another raised flower on here, but I haven't. And then my family is going to go raised above that. So you need to just go in and just choose a little word, and I haven't got that centered very well. Center that. So you've got plenty of words that you can use for yourself on these sheets. So there is card 5B finished. So now we're going to start 5D, and from the damask card I have cut, it was from here, I cut the 3x4 here, and I cut the infill for the other card out of there as well. So now I've got a 3x4 here, and I've edged around the edges. Now I cut from my PDF printable of just some scripts. So if you haven't got that belong to the group, just get from your stash some script white paper, or even book paper will work from an old book. And the measurement of that is 3.5 by 2.25, with the print going across portrait, and that goes to one side, sort of centered. And then what I'm going to do now, I'll just quickly pop that one underneath, sticking out across all the layers. This one comes across sort of down here. Then I will lay my book. I have a small floral which I'm going to tuck in here. I think we might move this one down here and pop the white one with the leaf just there. So once you're happy with your placement, you can start taking things out, gluing them into place. We'll take both of those off, and you know where they're going. Pop my on there. Put my next one down. Go. Put my the book down as well. I'm going to stick this in the corner. Then I'm just going to tuck that floral in that corner, and just poke a little, one of those little printed leaves. I cut one off of the top with the leaf, just like that. And there we have 5B and 5D complete, and you've done 1/2 of the layout now. 6 is a really easy one. You have got your 6x4 in your craft, and you've got a 5 3/4 by 3 3/4 white photo mat, and you just pop that onto your card centered, and there's card number 6 ready to go. So here is card number 7. Now card number 7 is going to match our card number 2 with our tears, so that we've got 2 cards with tears, one on one side of the layout and the other one on the other side of the layout. Now I've done, once again, got one of those tags, but because the card is longer, we didn't have to slash this one, similar to what we did on card 1. Now I used that frame Never Stop Dreaming and backed it with a 1/16 inch border with the craft and one of the tags. Now the florals, you can see which ones I've got, and also from the PDF from the group, I have actually got some of the white flowers which I've cut, and some of the leaves. So what we have to do here is just do a small tear, then roll the bits back and really make them quite dark with your ink. Distress your edges. Now this particular piece is 5 3/4 by 3 3/4. So now I'm just going to put an extra piece of tape on there, which I forgot to do. Okay. And pop that centered onto your 6x4 white mat. There we go, just like that. Now we're going to work from the top, and this tag goes here, then this one goes down the bottom like so. So you need to glue this one down first, or tape, whichever you like to do. But if you are using glues or any tapes, always make sure that they're the very good tapes, not from the El Cheapo shops, because you'll find everything will fall off within 6 months. Whereas if you use good glues and good tapes, they last for a long, long, long time. So this particular little card here, I'm just going to poke in so it sort of comes down in a line. Now my flowers, this one here is going to be flat and just tuck in on top of the Never Stop Dreaming. So I'm going to attach that like so. Now this one I have mounted, and I'm going to pop that here. A little bit lower, no, just there. Now I've got a leaf there I want to tuck underneath to fill up some of that white space. Then I have got some of those little other green leaves that I've printed off, whereupon I've got a white. I just wanted a few white sort of flowers and things. It's going underneath, and then I've got a little bud there. I'm going to glue that in to finish that off. Then my white flowers here, I've got some leaves here. I want to sort of peg them down here. So I'm just going to glue that in. Like so. And if you find that sticking up a little bit, just pop a little bit of glue into that section if you want. If you think that is going to cause problems. Okay, so now I'm going to tuck underneath some of the white florals again. I think I might have to wiggle that in a bit. Then I've got the other flower coming up here. So if that's the case, that needs some foliage to be popped underneath. So once you're happy with how it's all sitting, you can lift it up. That's a good thing with glue. And just pop those in. There you have your next eye candy card, number 7. Here we go, card number 8. So you've got your 6x4, which I cut in the green card from the PDF file. So if you haven't got that, you just find some green, sort of bottle green sort of paper that you can use as a background. I cut from the damask paper a piece 3 3/4 by 2, and I've distressed it really quite heavily, and that is going to go up the top with an 1/8 of an inch border all the round, and that is where all my flowers and things are going to sit. Now I've got some ink on this card, but it won't notice because I'll have my photograph on it. Now your white photo mat is 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, and that is going to go down the bottom of the card. So now I have got here some of the tag, and this one was a lot longer, so I've cut it sort of 3/4, and the long thin one. So I want that to go on the top, and probably it to go like this, sort of up the top a bit, and then I'll lay my floral in, and I'm going to bring that across slightly, because here I want some of the white popped in. Underneath. So once I'm happy with how it all looks, there we go. I'm quite happy with that. You can pull that card out and actually stick these down before your florals. So that one's going up in the top corner. This one is roughly about halfway into the card at an angle up to the top, sort of overlapping the card there. And I'm going to put my little leaves in. and they were from the printed PFD. If you haven't got that, just use some white flowers from your stash. Or if you do want to know the cutting files and etc. for this, you can actually join the Facebook group, which actually has the link below, and then you will get the cutting files video where I cut all the papers, and you'll also get any extra papers and things that I print off. I will actually put a PFD into the Facebook group file tab, and you can just print it off, and then you've got the extras that I've used in my layout. So we're just going to attach all of this in, and then stick everything down, and there's card number 8 done, ready for the next one. Now we are doing card number 9, which is our last of our full-size cards. Now I've used some of the green paper that came from the PDF, and I used this piece here, and I cut a 6x4 out of that. And then I've cut the little book and the coffee from here, and I cut this tiny bit of frame from here and snapped off the bed because I want to turn it up that way at the bottom of my card. So I've got my 6x4, which I have distressed around. I cut some of the leftover paper that I had with the damask, and I also, from the sheet where I did some print paper, I have cut a strip straight down here on the side there, and that is 5 1/4 roughly by 1 1/2 inches. Just cut that piece exactly like that and use that piece. So that then becomes all of our layering pieces, and I've distressed all the edges. So our first piece will go in roughly 1/4 inch in. Now if you don't have any script paper, just find yourself an old book and cut up an old book that makes beautiful print paper, and use that. So there we go. And this piece I wanted like that. Bring that slightly over. There we go. Just like that. So there you have that little tiny border all around. Then this piece will be going underneath like that, and then I'm going to cover that bird up like that. So what we can do now is we can get this piece, now we know exactly where it's going to fit. I'll tell you the measurement of this. This is 2 inches by 4 1/4. Now from memory, this was all I had, and it's the piece that was down here that I haven't cut, that I've used up. And now my little white card goes in. which is my 3x4, and that goes in like so. So then this, because I haven't put tape on the bottom, I can actually physically just slide that in to where I want it. And once again, I want that little 1/8 of an inch border on the bottom. And I'll put a couple of pieces of tape onto that. And take my pin out. Let's glue this down. And my glue is not working for some reason. There we go. That should work now. There we go. So we'll just pop the get the cup nice and straight, but I'm going to lift that off to make sure that that doesn't glue down onto my picture frame. And then I'm going to put a floral there, and I'm going to tuck this floral underneath. I think my little hole is gummed up there. So I'll get my glue. That's better, a bit too much glue. I'll pop that underneath. And this one, I'm going to put a little bit of foam tape. And make that raised. But the frame underneath just gives you that little bit of extra layering. So there we have our card number 9 ready and done. Now we also now have, once again, our 2 eye candy cards, what I call eye candy, and these are 10D and 10B, and all you have to do is have your 3x4, and these white photo mats measure 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, and all you have to do is attach them to your 3x4, and it looks like my 3x4 is not 3x4, and it isn't. You can see I'm an 1/8 out, so I need to chop off that 1/8 of an inch there, which I will do in a moment, and attach my cards. So then we get on with our last 2 of our eye candy cards, and then we've finished our layout. Now we're going to complete our last of our 3x4 cards to finish our layout on. And from the sheet here, I took this big flower from here, and I did trim these leaves up separately so I could tuck them underneath to make it a little bit smaller. And my card was taken from here with my cutting, which I actually haven't drawn in for when I do the cutting file. So I'll quickly do that now. I'll just put here 3x4 and it is 10A. So then from the frames, I've cut this frame out here completely out, and I've left the inside of the frame there to make this card. And I also have used this and that little flower pot was on this card here that I just cut out there, and all my words and things that I cut out were from those sheets. So what we're going to do is just pop that like we did on card 5B. It's very, very similar. I'm just going to pop that on like so. We are going to put the lovely flower pot here, and put the flowers down the bottom like so. And then I've got one of the stickers which I'm going to put our story. So I'm going to attach all of those down. So I'll do our story first. Pop that in. Then I'll pop this one down next and just slant it a little bit at the bottom there of that frame. Then I'm going to mount this onto some foam tape. There at the top. I'm going to pop this. I've got a little bit of white there which I'm going to just give it a bit of a going over. I obviously didn't do that, and I'm going to pop that just over here. Does help. I might actually put a bit of glue on there to make sure that that stays put. Right, I'm going to pop that there. And then I'm going to get another piece, a little bit of foam tape, and pop it on this little white floral. And attach the leaf, a little leaf that I cut out from my cut apart sheet, underneath there to finish that off. So there's one of our little cards done for 10A. Now 10C, I cut one of these because I'm going to put the date of whatever this layout was. So I've got the large floral, I cut a small floral, and there's the leaves I cut off here, 3 leaves. So I have cut a piece 1 1/4 by 3 3/4 from the print, and I'm going to pop that up the top here like this. Now this little piece, it came from one of the cut apart sheets, you have got an envelope, and it's the inside of that envelope I have used. And that is going to go, I think, just here to the side, and pop the floral up like that. And then I'm going to put this down here. With one of the florals, just like that. Now, I think what I will do, I will raise one of those flowers up. So I'm going to put a piece of the mounting tape on this top floral, ready to go. And then I might even raise the date title up as well. Okay, so now I'm going to stick this one down. Sort of center it so that you have the same borders. Then I'm going to glue this one down the bottom, right into that bottom corner. Take the foam tape off so that that flower is slightly raised. I will then pop my title in. Then I'm going to pop my floral, which what I'm going to do with this, that leaf is in the wrong place. So I'm going to stick this down with it tucked sort of underneath there, but the leaf I cut off, I'm going to pop in at the top. Sorry, I've got my hand just at the top here. I'm going to pop that back. Now I'm also going to rethread underneath that flower, that leaf, like so, because it just finishes that card off. So you can imagine you will have the date that your layout occurred. So there is our full layout finish and all the cards ready for you to put your photographs into your photo mats and then pop it into your album. So here's the finished layout after we've done all of our cards and put them in. I've popped my photographs in now and it's ready to go into my photo album. So I do hope you enjoyed this process video and will join me on the next one. And don't forget to put all your scraps of paper to one side, because in 2 months' time I'll be doing a travel layer with the rest of the papers that were left over from this pad. So till next time, keep crafting. Bye.